Let me go get you the world, baby. I'll be right back. Get your diamonds and them pearls, baby. I'll be right back. Put triple digits in your bank account. Hello there. Welcome to So Sweet Sundays. I'm Sweets, and I have a guest with me. He is a coworker that is like I'm pretty close with. He's super funny, or well, he thinks he's funny.
She laughs.
And his name is Rocky, but I call him Rock because he's hard headed. His head is like a rock. Say hi to the people.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
And we're going to just sit down and kind of chat about life's journeys and your story because it's so dope and so like amazing to me. Like how the things that you've gone through and things you've been through. Um, Kind of just even telling a little bit about the way we kind of start interacting in the beginning. I don't even really remember though, Rob. Can you?
I don't. I remember it was collecting the checks first because I get hard checks, and
Right.
you had them a few times, and that's how we
Mm-hmm.
first started talking,
Mm-hmm.
checking in with you. Somebody sent me to you, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that was he's a coworker of mine, um, and so that was it. Is that when I had the checks and you had to come to me,
Yeah.
and it was like,
Because HR was at lunch at that time. I got off at 1:30, so
yeah.
they would be at lunch at 1.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I'm ready to go home, I'm scrambling around looking for my check.
Right, right, right. And so that's how we kind of started interacting. And then after that, it was just kind of like we just clicked, you
Yeah.
know. We would just talk and laugh about life stuff, um, things that we've been through, your experiences in your past. And I'm like, wow, shut up. Because your story like blew my mind. And so it was like, oh my God, people like need to hear this. And I was saying to you, I was like, oh, I do this podcast. And, I think it'll be a good thing for you to come on and talk about and, think about it. And you were like, oh, okay. It took you about 900 years to finally say,
At least, but I still look good for my age.
he's really 9,000 years old.
Got a lot of work to do.
Right, in vampire years. We kind of just joke around, have a lot of bantering. We
No,
just
I'm with you. Yeah.
have a good time. Like, you just like a dope, cool dude. Like,
Thank
you
you.
know what I'm
Thank you.
saying? Like, real, authentic, like a father, a supporter of great things. Like, when you know that somebody has a great thing going or they're positive or they're trying to change their life, you support them and you're down with
100%.
that, which I'm so excited about because you also give, to youth,
Yes.
going back, talking to them, a mentor, um, a great employee. Like, there's times when I've needed things at work and I'm like, Rock, can you do this for me? You be like right on it.
Yeah.
You're a family man, big in your kids' lives, big in loved ones' lives. Every time I turn around, you help moving somebody, you know?
It sometimes it's like trying to hurry up and try to give everybody a piece, right?
Yeah.
So it does get hectic because they supported me for years while
Yeah.
I was gone. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes it's stressful trying to really divide my time up to a lot of people. I get it, and
Yeah.
I try because I miss them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So you say, you bring that up and you say, oh, I was gone. Where you was at?
Oh yeah, I was on vacation. Yeah, so
For how
it
long?
was a joke for about did 21 years and 23 days straight. Prior to that, I did a few years on my first term.
Mm-hmm.
Was only out 8 months, and then went back for 21 years. So yeah, sometimes we don't learn the easy way. They give you
Mm-hmm.
chances, and sometimes you don't take those lessons
Yeah.
to heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was the one, like you said, rockhead. So I had to learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Just getting into your story, and we don't want to go back to when you was 3 months and you lost your first tooth, or your first one came in, or
that was
what happened.
dramatizing. Yeah.
Shut up. Just about the history of some of the things that you went through. So you were gone for 21 years.
Yes.
And so, what was the original sentence, though?
Okay. So the original sentence was 74 years and 3 life sentences.
My God, that's crazy.
Yeah. I couldn't do just the years by themselves. I would have been
Wow.
103 years old before I would have been eligible for parole.
That's
At that
just
time.
eligible.
Eligible. I would have had to live to 103 just to go before a board and prove that I've changed to deserve a chance to go return to society. And so at that time, I just thought, well, I'm going to die in prison.
Yeah,
You know, I know very few 103-year-old guys that.
right.
And if I would have made it, I would have been so bitter by then. I'd have been like, you might as well keep me now, change my diapers.
Right, right.
But yeah. So you know, it puts you in a different state of mind as far as thinking that you're gonna die in prison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, away from your family, and you know those things hurt every year. Somebody's birthday comes, or Christmas, or holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those things affect you dramatically. So. But you go into a different state of mind if you accept that. Look, I'm gonna die in prison. Like, this is my life now.
Yeah,
Until I stop breathing, right?
yeah.
It changes you, and it took a long time. Like there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of pain. So, you know, and obviously I hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
When I'm suffering like that, and that environment's a violent environment. So, you know, violence is acceptable. That's normalized, in that, you know, you get to a point where it's like, oh, this guy's got to get stabbed, and okay, it's nonchalant.
So I have a question. Did you, well, you know, I always have a question, but did you, in the beginning, did you have a trial?
I did.
So when you lost the case and they determined you were guilty, found guilty, what do they say, by a jury of your peers?
Peers, right.
Yeah, they're
I
usually
didn't look like
not.
none of them guys in my. Yeah.
Exactly. When they found you guilty, then okay, that's one part of it. Did you think you were gonna not found guilty? Did you think there was a
100%.
chance?
100%.
Really?
So a tactic they use a lot of the times is your gang involvement.
Okay.
Okay, so literally I went through trial. We didn't call one witness, and none of the other witnesses were even saying anything about me.
Wow.
Right, and I told my attorney to even tell the DA, like, hey, tell him to give me 15 years for something, and I'm out of here before trial. Like, you guys have nothing on me, but I know how they get down.
Yeah.
So I try to get my attorney to tell him, and I said, let's not waste money. Like, give me 15 years. I'll go do that time, because I know how they get down. And so their tactic is they overflood the jury that are not my peers with gang allegations, which was true. I was a full-blown gang member,
Okay.
right? But I am not guilty of this crime.
Yeah.
So what they do is they scare these jurors into believing that, oh, he's a bad man because he associates with these people.
Right.
And so think about what's in their minds. Okay, maybe he didn't do this crime. No one's saying nothing about him in this trial. However, he looks scary, and I do not want him out here with me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, we could say he's guilty.
Yeah.
And under the law at that time, they could do that. That was law. That they could say, yeah, we believe that his thought process was with malice.
Because birds of a feather flock together,
Right,
right?
right.
So what year was this?
That was 2001.
This was
So
2001?
So 2001,
Wow.
I got locked up for the crime. You know, for the crime. However, we didn't go to trial till 2003.
So when did the actual incident happen?
In 2001, September.
In 2001. So did somebody get killed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then somebody survived.
Okay. So were you just in the group? And
So yeah, at that time we were in a fight, a
Okay.
fist fight, and somebody else decided to pull out a gun and,
Oh, wow.
you know, end these people's lives and,
Yeah.
and shoot the other one, right?
Yeah.
But and at that time, everybody's guilty. If you were involved in a fight, you're guilty of the crime as well.
So was it rival gang members?
No.
Okay.
No, but they end up saying it was a gang related because if you're a gang member or associated with gang members, no matter what crime you commit, even if it's not against a gang member, it's considered a gang crime
Okay.
because you participated in it.
Okay.
For the
Okay.
benefit of the street gang, it's how they word it, right?
Okay. Okay. So you guys got into a fight, a fisticuff, if you will. Somebody else decided to take it another way, escalated.
Right.
They pulled out the gun. They killed somebody. You did not.
No.
But because you were affiliated and you were there, you were guilty by association.
Right.
Okay. And so then what happened? You guys dispersed, and what happened?
Yeah, so we all left separate ways. Like I went home in a different way, and and then we got arrested. the next
Wow.
day. Yeah.
So how did people even know that you were involved in it?
Well,
Was there
because we
cameras? Is it,
yeah,
what
there's
was up?
cameras, and then there was a verbal altercation prior.
Okay.
So prior to the actual shooting, we were at the store, and a verbal incident occurred where we were like, who you talking to,
Yeah.
right? And they were in my neighborhood, so it's like, you know, somebody says shut up, and it's like that's super disrespectful in the gang world. Like, who you
Okay.
talking to in my hood, right?
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, I was only out 8 months,
Mm-hmm.
so I still had the fear of going back to prison right
Yeah.
away, right? Because I
Yeah.
talked so much mess to people that would come back so quick.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you didn't like it out there? Like, why
Yeah.
would you come back so quick?
Yeah.
So at the very least, I was like, I'm not going right back, right?
Right.
So we ended up talking it out and squashing it, shook hands, everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I guess these individuals were drunk, and maybe his baby mama played a part, like his pride or whatever,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So we left.
Uh-huh.
And that's like unheard of in like the gang plays. If we
Yeah.
felt disrespected, usually somebody's gonna get hurt,
Yeah.
right? So we end up squashing it. It's like, okay, sorry, they didn't know. Somebody had made a comment towards his girl, and so I understand that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you can't fight at all. You're gonna defend. That's my girl,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of like, okay, so that's what kind of de-escalated the situation
Okay.
to where I understand where you're coming from, but watch how you talk to people,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we left. We went parked down the street, and I guess they decided to arm themselves with crowbars and come walking down there because seen this
God.
park over there,
Yeah.
and somebody else seen them. It was like, and a fight just happened.
Yeah.
I seen that,
Just broke out.
and it was yeah.
Yeah. So hearing that you were involved in a gang at that particular time, how old were you?
That time I was 27,
Okay. And so I hear that you went to jail
28, yeah.
prior to that
Right.
and had only been out for 8 months.
Yeah.
So that means that you were involved in the gang before you were
I was
27.
involved in the
How
gang
old
since I
were
was
you
like
when you
14.
started?
Yeah, like,
14?
if you want to say it like full blown like gang banging, it was about 14. But I've been around it my whole life. Yeah.
Okay. So what enticed you to say, this is what I want to do, this is acceptable, this is what I feel like I want to be in my life?
Right. So growing up in our neighborhoods back then, there's no internet and YouTube and all that stuff. So who are we gonna thrive to be like if we grow up and the people who have money, nice cars, girls, are the drug dealers and gang members?
Yeah.
Right. There are rock stars,
Yeah.
and we're not out and about. We're walking through our neighborhood and seeing this, right? So obviously that's who we gravitate to be like.
Okay.
Right. And then of course other situations come into play where childhood trauma, and you want to go find acceptance, and you're growing up with these kids,
Yeah.
and you guys become close,
Yeah.
right? And at some point, there's a beef with this other guy, and then you're gonna back your friend up, and so it just kind of evolves, right? People just think, oh, you're a gang member, and you become violent. No,
Yeah.
those things escalate as well, right? Because as you're small and you get into the gang, it's like fist fight, name calling, whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's not enough. Then you start getting knives and bats, and then you start getting guns, right? So everything escalates. So unfortunately, understanding how the brain develops and how things grow in your brains and your thought process, find things acceptable to a point where you feel like you could go out here, stab this guy, come back and have a nice little meal and
Yeah.
continue program, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you talk to people in society and they're like, what the heck? Like, that's very shocking. And it took me a long time to really understand that it's shocking because this has been my environment.
Yeah. It was normal to you.
Right. Around the same people that thought the same way.
Right. Exactly.
No matter what color, race you are, it was acceptable in prison for violence. It was almost expected.
So, as a mother, as a single mother, that people may be experiencing now, having sons and not having the father in the home for people now, what is it, a behavior that you can kind of give people to understand that maybe you might need to check on this boy, this baby, a little bit deeper? What was your telltale signs that you started moving down to where maybe a person now could say, hey, maybe I need to look into this because they're kind of exhibiting certain behaviors?
Okay, so like every individual is super different,
right.
right? It depends
Sure.
on the trauma, how they were raised, their beliefs, core beliefs, all these things come into play. So with me, I was so damaged and lost as far as like not even knowing, where my feelings going or even what
Yeah.
they were, right?
Yeah.
So my coping skill was fighting violence, right?
Excuse me.
But I say that because the signs you would probably see is if they're incarcerated and you're asking if they're a single mother.
So before
Before they get
incarcerated,
Okay.
so they're starting to exhibit signs and they're doing different things that is normally not like
Okay.
them. So say you're 12, but you're then starting to hang with people
Okay.
and pick up spirits and habits. What are certain things like a telltale sign? Yes, everybody's not going to be the same,
Right.
but there is going to be incidents
No.
that you can tell, like, that's different behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, now I understand. So obviously, educate yourself in your environment, whatever neighborhood you're in. Apparently, right now.
Okay.
If if it's a blood, northerner, southerner, crip, right?
Uh-huh.
So you'll see the first signs will be like they're wanting certain colors
Uh-huh.
to be like their friends.
Okay.
Or certain numbers, right?
Okay.
And things evolve all the time. Like there's so many gangs out there now that I
Right.
don't even know about, right?
Right.
So certain things mean certain things.
Right.
So certain hairstyle, what music you listen to, these are all things that they're gonna have to educate in their area, right?
Okay.
And I'm sure there's places, and we'll try to find out where they could go, like a website that generalizes, like look for this gang. This gang represents this, right? So being from Oak Park, it was red for us, right?
Yeah.
And it isn't like back in the day, but what I would say now is a lot of the kids tell on themselves on the computer.
Okay.
On social media.
Okay.
So if they're trying to hide you from social media, then that might be something you might want to check on.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I think they could Google their name, like if they're on YouTube or
Yeah.
trying to post stuff on certain things. We could talk to some of the younger people to
Yeah.
find out exactly where they post their stuff, right? But a lot of these kids will tell them themselves, and I almost think it's like a cry for help. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? You know it's out there.
Right.
You know
Right.
everybody can see it.
Right.
Somebody's gonna come across your stuff that knows you.
I think that it's pretty awesome that because I didn't even think about or recognize that there's numbers associated with things.
Yes.
You know, I knew there was colors. Sometimes a hairstyle would kind of tell things, but I never thought about numbers.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a good
numbers
thing
was a
for
big
people.
thing. Yeah.
Really?
So yeah, 14 is for
Okay.
northerner. Southern is 13,
Okay.
right? And the haircut was back in the 90s. We had like Mongolians.
Like, because it would be shaved here
All
with
the
this
way,
little
All
piece
this
right
would be
here.
shaved, ponytail coming out the back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're doing it now, right? But I just say that was an example that pops in my head.
Okay.
So yeah, find out the numbers. I don't know if the brothers actually have numbers right now, but I know of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point in day and age, I don't think it's really relegated to race anymore or color.
No.
It's like you cross this person and that person is who you in that neighborhood with and who you vibing with. And like, so did you become mouthier?
Yeah, but never towards my mom. Like I've always respected my mom. And
Okay.
She's four for nothing, right? But still, to this day, I'm so full of myself that I feel like she's the only person on the planet that can beat me up.
Okay.
Because I can't hit her back, right?
Right, exactly.
But I can run faster than her still, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
But you see, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days might be long upon the earth, that the Lord thy God giveth thee. So even that you knew that,
Yes.
even with the crazy mentality you had,
Right.
you
That's
had a
one person.
reverence and an honor and a respect for your mother, which is
Always.
pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I don't know because she was a strong woman too. Like she was always like working, and she was a disciplinary one.
Okay.
Because I wasn't close with my dad, and not even close at all. But my stepdad, I didn't give him a chance, right? So nobody could really discipline me. So it really hurt.
Okay.
And so when I say that, is because even in my chaotic lifestyle, like that was always important to me. You know what I mean? I always want mama to love you. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she wasn't with or even, you know how like some things is generational.
Yes.
She wasn't that kind of mom that supported that.
no,
That she really worked and wanted better for you.
yeah, and she partied too, right?
Yeah.
Kicked it, and
But that's the difference between, just saying,
Pushing on the
oh,
gang
let
member
me
stuff.
pass this down
Yeah.
from generation to generation to generation. You know, there's a complete difference.
No, she
You
made
know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Yeah. I mean, one time I remember when I was little, when I first came home with a bandana on my head, and I thought I was the SHIT, right? But
We're not gonna say that.
we didn't say it. We
You
spelled it.
said, you spelled it. You said it.
Is it the same?
It's the same.
It counts. All right. I should have said bleep.
Right.
But so I thought I was full of myself, right? And
Right.
then I opened the door, and oh boy, she smacked the heck out of me. She was
Yeah.
like, you are not gonna be a cholo, right?
Yes.
So she was very like strict on that.
Yeah.
But so even when I went on to the gang member, I was like, she said cholo. She didn't say Nathaniel, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm
Right.
still doing all right.
Right. You always trying to find the gray area,
Yeah.
pushing the line.
Right.
And so at that point in time, because it was around you and it was accepted and your peers was involved in it, and some of it for them were generational. And so it was like, hey, you were accepted, and at that point in time too, you were able to fight well.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay, we kind of would
got a
like
new
you.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
a
he
good
can
one,
do
yeah.
some things. And so you were just like, to you, did that feel like love? Like, what did
It
that
did.
feel like? Acceptance, love? Like what?
It did. For a minute there, I felt alone for a while because I
Okay.
was in my own grief and pain, right?
Okay.
So feeling like, okay, this guy has my back no matter what, and he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know anything about me. He's not judging me, and
Yeah.
he still got my back,
Okay.
right? So you do find that because as humans, we're social creatures,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you feel, even if you're not lacking it at home, but you feel like you're lacking it,
Yeah.
then that's real to you, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you're gonna go look for it somewhere else,
Okay.
right? And it's a way, like I said, that was my coping skill, fighting. So when I was getting praised for that,
Mm-hmm.
like making a name for myself, like
Yeah.
I was liking that. I was getting that positive endorphins that was
Yeah.
making me happy.
Yeah.
right? And that got out of control because I really loved that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so then you always got to step it up now. Now you go fight well, and you're making a name for yourself. You're also making a name for yourself with people that don't want to fight you again because they know you already could beat them up.
Yeah.
So what are they gonna do? If they're pain and they're anger, they're gonna go get a gun.
Oh.
They're not gonna fight me.
Yeah.
And so even though I could fight extremely well, I still had to go get a gun because my pride's not gonna let me run from this guy that I beat up on accident.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even waste a breath.
Yeah.
But now I gotta run from him because he got a gun.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna be that guy either.
Yeah.
So when those expectations are placed on yourself because I like it, we also have to raise that bar.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep this status now
Yeah.
by any means.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna have a gun, and then it became quick for me to pull that gun out. It was so easy. It was like, okay, this will be over a lot faster than a fight. I'm done. I'm out here.
Yeah. And so in your mind, that was acceptable?
Yes, it was the next evolution of what I wanted to do in my
Okay.
life. I wanted to be a gang member. I wanted
Okay.
to go to prison. Like literally,
You wanted to go to
yes,
prison?
literally that was our goal.
What?
Yeah.
Shut your whole mouth.
So the way the gang members think is we're gonna put so much work in. We're gonna be recognized by everybody.
Wait, so work is basically
Gang
damage
membership.
on the street.
Yeah, to people, to
Okay.
other gang members.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does it? I'm all thinking about civilians like it was a military. Because you talk about that, but so was it to anybody outside of the gang realm? Could anybody get it?
Oh,
or
anybody could get it. Yeah.
oh, okay,
Anybody. So we obviously try to keep civilians out of it,
okay.
but also when they violate us or disrespect us, then they will be made an example of.
Oh wow.
Right. So
What if they didn't mean to be disrespectful?
then
What
we
if they-
educate them
Lord.
with violence. Right. We will, a lot of gang members are very pleased to educate people.
You're, I'm
in that
about to
manner.
hurt you right now. That is too hilarious.
Yeah.
And so, but nothing to the extreme like guns and nothing. You just
So it depends on the individual that's been disrespected, his pain. Like I said, it was a coping skill for me to fight. Like
Yeah.
I would literally get headaches if I didn't fight every so often, because the tension built up. You know what I mean? And so it was a release for me. But other people's damages, like think about it. If you don't care about people,
Mm-hmm.
you don't care about yourself,
Okay.
right? Because so you're almost on like a suicide thing. Like you're putting yourself in these high risk situations where
Yeah.
you could die every day in the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many shootouts. It's crazy, but I wasn't fearful.
I was about to say that didn't bother you.
No,
That didn't make you.
that's why I
feel
say
like
it was almost borderline. Like maybe I had suicidal, tendencies.
Tendencies,
Like
mhm.
I mean, that's what it is. You don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
care if I got shot at that time, right?
Yeah.
Because I would have rather died a gangster than, than be some.
So go back to the mentality that you wanted to go to prison.
Okay, so
So
that is.
how many? So in your mind, 'cause this is crazy.
It's hard to believe.
How long would you say in your mind? Because it don't sound like y'all want to stay in there forever. So was it like, okay, I want to go to prison, but only for 6 months, only for 3 years? Like, was there a time frame in your go crazy
So
mind
no,
at
no.
that time?
It literally was a crazy thought process because I told you before, like as we're growing up in these neighborhoods, we're seeing our rock stars.
Okay.
That's who I want to be.
Wow.
We see our homeboys coming out, the OG homies coming out from prison, got their nice, shape on, the tattoos, and we're like, damn, that's our rock stars.
Wow.
So guess where they're coming from is prison. I want to go there.
Oh no.
That's where
way.
the cool guys come from.
Shut your face.
So no, I literally thought, and I was gonna go in there and put in so much work to get sent to the shoot at Pelican Bay. Like I wanted to keep making that name for myself as a younger man. That grows. Like it doesn't matter where you go, and I think that still installed in my character now. But I still keep the good benefits. I just morphed them all into
Yeah.
positives, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to make that name for myself as a gang member, which was in criminality and violence, right? So now I do it in a professional manner, and I can put that much energy into some positivity that I did for negative for years. Right?
Yeah. And we were gonna go back and touch on that, but I wanted to kind of get a feel of the background before we get to the amazing dope person that you are now, because you have to understand where you come from,
Right.
to understand where you are now and where you're going to, because it's not done. You are going to do greater things even than what you're doing now in the future.
I believe it.
But we have to understand the path that we take,
And I'm always trying to share my story because I know how much pain I was in as a child, right?
Yeah.
And then growing up and how that morphed into so much chaotic
Yeah.
life, right?
Mhm.
I do not want nobody else to go
Yeah.
through that. So that's why I share my story. I mentor. I go back into prison. I facilitate. Because I want to make sure that they're not on that path. Because even the guys in prison, they're going to get out.
Yeah.
And I always remind them, like, within 8 months, like, prison's not fun. There's a lot of stuff that's degrading. Like,
Yeah.
we always say we don't like listening to people. We don't want to go to school. We don't want to do that. Well, you don't want to go to prison because they tell you when to go to sleep,
Yeah.
turn your lights off in some prisons, when to shower, when to eat.
Uh-huh.
So,
When you can talk on the phone.
yeah.
that.
And so, if you don't like being told what to do now, like, wait till you get to prison.
Yeah.
You're going to be told everything, like even to strip down and cough and
Right.
all that stuff, right?
Sure.
All these
Sure.
degrading things, right? And so I remember that when I got out my first time, but within 8 months you forget because your brain is wired to try to forget the bad stuff in your life
Okay.
to protect you.
Okay.
And so you start living life out here. But that's why I stay grounded. I still keep in contact with a lot of guys that are
Okay.
in prison
Yeah.
and out after they
Okay.
get out because I'm not going to forget what I went through this
Yeah.
time. I'm not.
For sure. So, in saying that you strive as a child because you see these peoples as rock stars, as mentors, as
There are
men
CEOs,
that
yeah.
are like great icons to you, if you will.
Right.
Your ultimate goal is to go to prison because you want the stature and the build. You want the name, the reputation. You want the tattoos and the honor that is given, whether it is honor from terror or whatever it is. Nevertheless, there is a form of honor
Yeah.
and reverence and respect, if you will. So being that you were found guilty in that courtroom, you done 8 months already, so you really don't like prison, but you're back in that situation. Did that shake you to your core?
It shook. It did. It did because it was. But I also had hope because I know I didn't do nothing. I was in a fight. Like, give me an assault. I was in
But
a
you
fight.
found guilty now. So
I
it
got
don't
found
matter.
guilty of simple assault. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but it don't matter now.
No, but there's still like a legal process. I had to learn the law, but there's legal processes where you still get to appeal.
Of course.
And so for
and
the
a lot of
beginning, I had
times they
hope.
deny those appeals.
Yes.
A lot of times.
A lot
they
of
deny
times,
those
unless
appeals.
you really like.
Unless you have people backing you, with some of these amazing attorneys that will go in and do
Hmm.
work to
No,
get people out. Like, unless you have a team backing you.
there was still, and at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor, and he had a Mexican friend down
Mm,
that was a businessman. Same situation, exact same situation. A fist fight turned into a murder,
mm-hmm,
but he let that guy out, his son.
mm. So, was you
And we seen that, huh?
banking your freedom on that?
No, no, but we
Oh,
was mad. I'm just talking because you bring up about if you knew the right person
yeah.
with the team, right? Yeah, you could 100% go home, but I'm the type of person. I have a lot of drive, so
Uh-huh.
I'll never really give up. Like you're gonna
Okay.
hear from me until, even though I was gonna die in prison, I
Hmm.
learned the law just to keep every year I filed a petition.
That's good. So again, going back to it because you ain't answered my question yet.
Okay.
So knowing
Oh, the
that
display.
you were now found guilty,
Hmm.
did that shake you to the core and not to a point where you're getting out? Because
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No,
Like,
no, I'm going to prison.
how did that how did you mentally
Right.
cope with that? Like,
So
what was going on?
for me is like I've been doing time. Like since I turned 18, I went in and out every year to the
Okay.
to the branch, right?
Uh huh.
So that world is normal for me,
Okay.
and uh I'm not one of the weak ones that are
Mm-hmm.
scared to go in there. Like
Right.
I'm the monster they're scared of
Right. When
when
you
the
get in
doors
there.
pop, right?
Right.
But I say that because uh I was more affected from my family
Okay.
and my baby mama. She was
Okay.
pregnant,
Oh wow.
and when she heard it, she was devastated. So
Wow.
right,
Uh
and
huh.
so I think that's where a lot of my focus was. It
Okay.
wasn't on myself.
Okay.
It's more like they're hurting. Her and my
Mm-hmm.
mom were in trial,
Yeah.
and so that was probably, yeah. Of course, I cried and it was like, dang, what the heck? But
Yeah.
at some point, like I've been doing my whole life, suck it up,
Mm-hmm.
push that. Excuse me, push that stuff down deep.
The rebuke.
Yeah, yes. Push it deep and man up. It's time to get battle. Like you're
How do
going.
you prepare for 3 consecutive life sentences?
It's not. It's day by day now. And I actually told myself like, okay, I'll give it 5 years or even 10 to see if the appeals go through, and then I was gonna try to like stab a cop until they shot me.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
literally told myself like, I'm gonna go out on my terms, right?
But why?
Well, because I wasn't gonna just grow old. I've seen homeboys in there old and feeble and not being able to defend themselves. I'm not gonna be that guy. Like, um,
So like, could it still be on when you 89 and
yeah.
you in a
Oh, if
wheelchair?
you in the game, yeah, 100%.
No.
If
When
you're
do
on
you
that
get
yard,
to tap out? Like when you get old? Stop.
when you die, yeah.
No.
Yes, you're in for life. If you get in the gang, if you get in certain gangs, there's prison gangs, there's street gangs, right? So
Okay.
if you get into a prison gang, at least a northerner, like, I mean, we'll still have people to protect you, like, especially on yards where I've been on there with the homeboys that are missing legs or handicapped, right? And there'll be
And
two,
they in gangs with no
yeah.
leg and
Well, they still
handicap.
got this, so sometimes that's the most powerful thing, right?
It always is the most powerful thing.
Right. So if they're able to function, strategize, set up yards, attacks, removals, they're still useful to us. They still want to
Yeah.
function, then you're going to participate. You do education, you can do all kind of stuff, right? But
I am like blown away right now
we'll also
because
have
it's
two
like,
people
wow,
with that person all the time.
really?
So he's going to have backup all the time. Like no one's just going to attack him.
Yeah.
So we
Because
do
he was
take
still
care of him.
valuable
Yeah,
because
he's
of
still
his mind.
yeah. Well, he's still a homie. We don't just throw you away because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And most likely he probably got into that wheelchair because he was putting in work.
So can you tap out at any point in time?
Well, anybody can tap out, but
Uh-huh.
it depends on what you want to tap out as. So it's like a hard hit for people's pride.
Hmm.
So think about it. In my case, I was a gang member most of my life, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. I was an old, stubborn gang member. Like a lot
Mhm.
of people tap out way before, like 40. There's not a lot of old homies on
Yeah.
the yard, right?
Hmm.
So I was one of the oldest ones,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I was at 30.
Yeah.
So when I was 30, I was the OG homie on the yard. And I'm like, so
Wow.
I got all these kids on the yard,
Yeah.
and but yeah, anybody could tap out now. Back in the day, you could not tap out because
Mhm.
they'll be like, yeah, go back on the yard. And the only way you tap out is you get in the hospital. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
life lighted out.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's like it's so chaotic in there. Like prison system is changing, and it is giving some opportunities for people to change their lives. Right.
Okay.
I've been to one prison where it was like it gave me a chance just to breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because there's some prisons back in the day like you don't have shower shoes for the shower. You have shower boots.
Get out.
Yep.
Cause we gonna be
because
chunking
they're
them
going to try to
naked and all.
they might try to jump you in there.
No way.
And our policy is always be prepared.
Wow.
Right. So it's like you don't have showers. Like you're gonna have shower boots.
Lord Jesus.
Give you the best chance
and
possible.
why in the world would you want to
Well,
go there?
Well, even so, when I say I wanted to achieve that, like I hadn't experienced it yet. You don't know the bad stuff.
But the first time you went,
oh yeah,
you kept going back over and
yeah.
over and over again.
Well, because I put myself in those situations.
Sure.
Right? So if I'm going to create it, then I have to accept responsibility, right? So I'm big on responsibility, even in my dysfunctional. Like I'm a man up.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah.
Right, but and so yeah, we're gonna keep pushing. Like, I'm not gonna drop out, so I'm still pushing. That's my choices I made.
Wow. And so, when did you hear how much time you were gonna get? Because they don't tell you once you found guilty, you got to come back for sentencing.
Right.
How long was that period? And what was your mind going through once hearing guilty? Were you still thinking maybe 10, 15 years?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know exactly what could happen, but once I got guilty, there's still some more hope that the judge could say, "I'm gonna give you this."
Okay. Yeah.
Ultimately, they got a guideline.
Right. Right.
But most of the time, they go high guidelines. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're waiting. You literally don't know how much time you're gonna get until sentencing, and then
how long was it from the time you were found guilty to sentencing?
I think it was like 3 weeks to a month.
To a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not positive, but I believe it was that quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you hear that sentence, what was the actual sentence said?
So it was 25 to life for so it was 9 years for second degree attempted murder. It was 15 years to life for second degree attempted murder.
That was one life.
No, second degree murder. 25 to life for a gun and enhancement, and 25 to life for a gang enhancement.
My God. Could your young mind at that time even count all of that up?
No, I didn't. I don't even know if I registered. I just know, and knowing that you could have 1 year to life, like that's really what set me. Because my first term, I was around some brothers that, like, their politics is different, where they don't have to get into stuff, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's like a race riot or something,
Right.
then they'll get in. But majority of them, like, I knew some of them and talked to them, and they were like getting denied for board after being down 20 years and had college degrees back then. Before the prison was offering it, they were doing it through the mail and, having to pay a lot of money and no write-ups. Write-ups are violations that occur inside prison, right? For fighting, stabbing, whatever, right? So them not receiving any violations, no write-ups in 20 years, having college degrees, doing productive stuff, right? So when I'm hearing this and they're getting denied board. So when I hear that, I'm like, okay, you can get 1 year with life and you're not going home anyways.
Oh, wow.
So really the football numbers didn't matter.
Okay.
But the life.
Mm-hmm.
I knew in my mind, once you get life, you get life.
Okay.
I don't care how good you are. So I'm coming in ramping and running. Let's go.
Okay.
So
you still didn't say, maybe I should change my mind and my behavior.
Oh, no.
When did you decide, maybe I should turn this thing around?
So then it was, I was sitting in the SHU, been in there for years by myself. Like, they wouldn't even give me a Sally because I had to do something to one of my other Sallys because he messed up, right? Yeah. And so once you do that, they're like iffy about giving you a Sally because they're like, are you going to hurt this one too? Like,
is it like a privilege to have a Sally or no?
No, it's almost like everybody would rather be single-celled, but when you're isolated in the SHU for years, it's like you ain't talking to nobody. You can't, you know what I mean? There's no card games. There's no nothing, right? But I said that because I'm by myself, so I had a lot of time to self-reflect.
Okay.
Right? And with my homies, we learn psychology back there. Like, we're learning everything. We have to mandatory read certain material to understand our enemy's thought process. And,
wow.
And so as I'm reading these psychological books and trying to break it down, I'm the only person I could evaluate.
Yeah.
Okay, when this says this, how did I feel when I was this young?
Yeah.
And this was years and years of, breaking through, like,
Yeah.
because your brain won't really tell you the bad stuff because it's like, no, we push that stuff to the side,
Yeah.
and we're done with it, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in there by yourself and you're really having to dig deep, it's like, okay, it's only you and your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I might even brush some stuff off in the beginning. It was like, oh no, that never happened to me, so
Yeah.
I can't understand what that is.
Yeah.
But then after a few years, you start, like, psychological is always going back and understanding how things developed,
Yeah.
right? And they're always
Sure.
small, no matter good or bad, right? And so at some time when you're a child, you see something that affects you,
Right.
and it starts that thought process. Like, oh, like I said, even if it's positive, a lot of us in the ghetto neighborhoods or urban areas are mostly, it's negativity that is
Yeah.
catches our eye, right? And so we start developing. That's who I want to be. That's
Right.
But yeah, that's understanding that isolation, and then it was like my mom's always told me, like, never be a gang member, right? And all that. It wasn't nothing. I always hid my rags when I was getting around her. Big old thug hiding your gang member rag
Right.
around a little 4-foot lady, right?
Yeah.
But and obviously my baby's mom was always, try to influence me to get
Yeah.
away, but nobody could tell me nothing because they didn't
Right.
understand. This
What
is
you've
who
been
I
through
am. This
in
is
your mind.
This
Yeah.
is what I want, right?
Yeah.
You're tripping, like, and that's my character. But it was my daughter.
Yeah. Really.
My daughter. So I was in the hoe and in the shoe in Pelican Bay, and
So you gotten to where you wanted to be.
yeah, I got put
Way
in
back
jail. In jail, yeah.
Okay.
So the shoe is where you hit so many violations, or you're such a threat to their general population as well, that they have to house you somewhere else.
Right, in the hole.
Regardless if it's like calling shots or putting in work or stabbing people, whatever, right? Eventually they're like, okay, you're on our radar. You're too much out here.
Yeah.
So I get in there, and like I said, I've been doing all this self-evaluation, reading the psychology books. And my baby mama was like, look, I can't keep driving 9 hours one way for a window visit.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to explain to your daughter why, she can't come up there and see you.
Yeah.
And,
Oh wow.
yeah, so, and then she was big on it, like, why ain't we, my daughter would ask, like, why ain't we going up there to go see my dad? Well, you're going to have to ask your dad.
Yeah.
And so it's probably the best thing she did, too, because my
Yeah.
daughter wrote me a little old paragraph, right?
Yeah.
And she said, Daddy, when you getting out of there so I can come visit you?
Oh
That messed me up.
wow. That hit you.
9 years old. I'm like, ah.
Because I can tell it hit you. It's even right
Oh,
now.
yeah, I'm
It's
getting
hitting you
emotional
hard.
now. I was just thinking about
It's
it, right?
hitting you
But
hard
that's
right
how
now.
impactful it was to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have the heart or the
What was your response?
cojones. Yeah, so for a minute there, I didn't have one response. What could I tell
For
her?
how long?
She's 9 years old. I couldn't tell her I'm going to die in this shoe, right? I'm going to die in here. Nobody was getting out of there no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I knew people in there that was in the shoe for 40 years.
Shut up.
Yes, at least there was one person in there that had, like, fighting cancer, because you don't see the sun. They
He
don't,
has to what?
no, he didn't. He had to fight cancer.
Oh, fight cancer. I
Yeah,
thought
because you don't have no vitamin D.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't see the sun.
Oh wow.
In there, right? And
yeah.
somebody was in there like almost 40 years. He was 2 doors down from me, a black dude from Bay Area.
Wow.
And I was like, man, that's gonna be my future. Like, what the heck? And I used to talk so much mess because I was a soldier on the front lines.
Yeah.
Our orders come from back there. That's
Yeah.
where everybody who's anybody's back there, right? And so I used to be like, man, they're not even out here putting in this work. They don't know how
Yeah.
it is doing this, like trying to
Yeah.
navigate this and get this stuff situated. And then now I was that guy
Mm-hmm.
that was back there having to send out orders and be like, you got to do this and this and this. And I'm like, dang, I wonder if there's some kid over there saying, you don't even know how it is out here. Like,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I didn't have the heart to tell my daughter, but that started the process of like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it actually
How
gave me
old
the
were you
strength.
at that time?
Phew, I was 40 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And so, when she wrote that to you, did you write her back and
I
say
couldn't.
something?
I mean, what could I say right away, right? So I was like, hopefully soon, right? I think I told her because I did not have the heart to tell her I'm not, I'm going to die in here. I'm never going
Yeah.
to see you, right?
Yeah.
Until you get older. But yeah, so it started the process and it was rough. It was hard. And I probably hesitated like 3 times and pulled the paper out the wall. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, your kids, I believe, are uh, your source of your power. Like
Yeah.
that'll really make you do the right thing.
Yeah. 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 And so, how long did it take you from that 9 year old baby girl who says, "Hey, Dad, when am I going to get to see you?" to you actually doing the work and deciding I need to change? How long was that time
Okay,
span?
so obviously it's manipulating the system to get out of there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but I didn't change yet.
Okay.
I may have started planting my own seeds in my head
Mm-hmm.
on understanding where this stuff developed,
Mm-hmm.
but I was still in an environment where I felt is I am not going to be a victim
Yeah.
ever,
Uh-huh.
ever. And I kind of believe that now to this day, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that I'm out there looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm a strong believer. Like you get a right to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So as long as like I said, nobody mess with me,
Yeah.
we're all right. Or my family,
Right.
we're all right.
Right.
But what were we talking about?
How
Also,
long?
how long? So, I didn't change. It took me a while. Still,
What's
I
a
got out
while?
of there.
2 years, 3 years,
No,
4 years?
so that was in like 2000. I want to say 12 or 11. She wrote me the
So that
letter,
was 10 years.
and then no, it was.
Because if you went, so
No,
you
no,
went to
no.
prison
Well, you're asking when I changed.
No, I'm saying that's 10 years from you being in there, still
So it's
acting
11.
up.
Yeah, it's about 11 years, 10, 11 years. Right.
So you're still in there acting up. The baby then says,
Boom.
after you've been in there for about 10 years,
Mhm.
hey, when am I gonna be able to see you?
Yeah.
You know, from there you've already done 10 years, and you're still not ready to turn around.
Yeah.
And so after that time, when you're starting to say, hey, because you're planting seeds on what you should do, what's the correct answer, all
How
of
I
this.
develop my thought process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get what you're asking, and where it actually changed was
Uh-huh.
I get out of there and I start getting my visits, right?
Okay.
And I start going to groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? How many try to get me to go to groups? And
What's
I'm
a
like,
group? What
so
does that
a
mean?
group is like so they have like it's like AA,
Okay.
and they have CGA, which is Gang Members Anonymous, right?
Okay.
It's trying
Wow.
to it shows you to develop how you develop those gang member mentalities,
Yeah.
right? And find it acceptable to hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about working that process.
Okay.
So we could try to de-escalate some of that pain and understand that that's not an outlet, that is a coping skill.
Yeah.
So there's also Victims Impact.
Okay.
There's always to understanding the empathy for the victims that suffer from our crimes.
Okay.
Because once we do crimes, we leave.
Yeah.
We don't forget the aftermath. We don't
Yeah.
care about the ambulance driver having to try
Right.
to save this guy's life on the
Right.
floor. We just got away from our crimes, right?
Yeah.
That's all we care about. But that makes you think about all that stuff,
Okay.
right? And about people's family and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
so when I first started changing, I went to groups to try to get some information to pass on to my kids so they wouldn't follow in my footsteps. So
Okay.
so first trying to save my kids is what
Yeah.
was the motivation.
Oh wow.
I didn't need help, right? So I'm gonna go get the groups and find some stuff to tell them, right?
Right.
And so I'm sitting in these groups, and the first couple of them are like, okay, I hear some stuff, but you start hearing all these people's stories,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these people that been doing groups, so they're pretty open, like I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like that now. I'm ready to say
Yeah.
my name and be like, nah, I don't want to say nothing.
Yeah.
But it starts out like that. But when you hear these people's stories, it doesn't matter how old they are, what color they are. They're sharing the same damn story.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, that's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's how I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's how I did that before. Right? And so you're seeing this common thing, and it's like, and CGA wasn't the one that got me. It was Victims Impact, right?
Oh wow.
So Victims Impact. So then when I started getting the eye opener, I was like, okay, let me try another group. Somebody's talking
Yeah.
about this Victims Impact. Let me go see this one, right? And I'm still trying to get information for my kids because
Yeah.
I'm
didn't need
doomed.
help, right.
I don't need no help. I'm doing
Right.
good. I'm not stabbing nobody. I'm not
Right.
beating nobody up. I feel like I'm doing good, right?
Right.
But so I go to Victims Impact, and that shows the ripple effect, and it messes me up.
Wow.
Understanding how much trauma affects everybody that person knows,
Yeah.
right? Their mom, their kids, everything, right? And so I prided myself, because of what happened to my sister. I prided myself on protecting women and kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you hurt a kid
Mm-hmm.
or a woman and you come to my yard, I'm not gonna send the guy that's in trouble that needs to go do it, because he's gonna be like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this guy that's like me
Mm-hmm.
and knows how to stab somebody
Mm-hmm.
and try to really kill this guy.
Yeah.
And so when I pride myself on that, like my whole career, all my victims have either been gang members or sex offenders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I pride myself on, I'm still righteous, right? It's one of the things we try to tell ourselves, like, I'm a righteous dude. Like, I've been walking good. I'm a good staff. So I'm telling myself this, and they start breaking this down in this group about the ripple effect and how people have moms, kids, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't have a light bulb thing. It was like an explosion. Like,
Yeah.
knocked me off my pedestal. I was like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, you vowed to protect women and kids, yet all these victims, regardless of who they are, have moms,
Yeah.
kids, sisters, brothers, uncles that are crying because they're laid in the hospital,
Yeah.
or they're beat up, or they don't look right. Their eyes are swollen. They can't get a visit because, you know.
So did you feel like in your mind you
Oh.
deserve to be stabbed?
No, I never felt like that because I'm never going to be a victim. Like I said, I'm not going to be a victim. But I definitely think, like, I believe in like karma, right?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, I believe I did put a lot of evil out in the world, right? And I take responsibility for, you know, more than the next man. Like, everybody I influenced to be a gang member.
So I have a question about this. When you were doing your process and you were doing your work, did you ever equate God in this? Had you ever talked to him? Have you ever?
I did a couple of times, right? But a lot of it, I think I shared this with you, but my struggle with God was for a minute there was very toxic,
Okay.
right? Because when I'm growing up and I internalized what had happened to my sister as my fault because I was the older brother, even though I was a kid. I believe
Right.
I was supposed to watch over her,
Right.
right? So I felt it was my fault
Yeah.
that this bad thing happened to her. I still
Yeah.
didn't even know what it was at that
Yeah.
time, right? So I struggled hard with God, like, how are you letting innocent kids hurt? Like, how bad could they have been
Yeah.
to deserve pain, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then I'm hearing the news about all this, you know, kids missing and, you know, getting hurt and stuff. So, and it was more or less my pain and my anger to lash out at somebody, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I cussed him out and everything for years. I was like, forget you and
Yeah.
F you.
Yeah.
And anybody who bring up God you were going to get a mouthful. Like,
Yeah.
So at some point it's like you accept everything's for a reason. Me is that's where I accepted God again. It's like, you know, I don't preach it a lot. I don't go to church a lot, but, you know, I believe in God, right?
Yeah.
And I believe everybody, I always say this to everybody, just so everybody could generalize and maybe get along better, because there is a lot of division between religion, right?
Yeah.
It's like the whole world eats rice, but the whole world prepares it differently.
Yeah.
So I believe everybody is praying to the same God if it's about love and peace, you know, and helping others, right? But when you start using anger and judgment towards other people's religion and stuff, it's like, you know, who are we to judge? That's God's job to judge them, you know. And as true religious people, they should just be praying for them.
Yeah.
If you feel they're working in the bad path, I hope it works out for you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope he's watching out for you.
Yeah.
So, and I try not to bring it into like my mentoring or facilitating, right? Because it's a touchy subject and it could overlap the whole group, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I try to keep it minimum. And plus, I know at that age how angry I was. And you say, God, I don't care if you would have said the best advice in the world, I'm not going to be receptive to it because you try to preach to me how I felt.
What do you mean try to preach to you?
So I felt they were trying to push God on me when I'm
Okay.
struggling with God.
Okay.
And you're not going to push that on me, or
Yeah.
you're going to get hurt. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was bouncing off, you know, deaf ears at that time.
And so, did anyone ever ask you how you feel about God
So
at that time
in there's when I was
when you were younger?
angry.
Yeah, to make you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, like you said, people will try to push it, but they don't know where you're at.
Right.
So, did anyone even ask where you were at? Check in with you?
No, I don't think that was even like an option back then,
Yeah.
especially in my environment where
Yeah.
I was at. It's like, yeah, no, I was never asked why. You know what I mean? That was my own conclusion I came to later.
Yeah.
So I was angry at that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's your relationship with him now?
Now I
Are
think
you
it's
still
good.
angry?
Like, I feel like no,
Okay.
100% is like I feel he puts things in my path
Yeah.
that I need to do. You know, he gave me all this knowledge and this love and trying to change and trying to put some good into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
every opportunity I try, just like when you offered this, I think he just threw it out there, like, okay,
Yeah.
let me go do it.
Yeah.
See
And
who I
so,
help. You know what I mean?
so you are big in servitude
Yes.
and being a servant unto people to give them knowledge and understanding, and then allow them to make the decision, or even give them another way of thinking, a
Yeah.
way out. Because from your story, it doesn't seem like you had another outlet, a way out,
There was no.
another thought process.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like, I never had nobody to plant the right seed I needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the pain perspective of how
Mm-hmm.
I changed the pain into violence, and then that got into my life for, decades.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like, who am I going to affect? Where are
Mm-hmm.
you going to put me where the right person might need to hear it at that
Yeah.
time, And
Yeah.
and I just keep it real. Like I said, there, the right words will come to me, and I'll meet the right kid that's going to
Mm-hmm.
maybe, change his path.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you say to someone who's angry at God? Now, what would your advice be?
So it's technically, because what happened with me, and my advice would be like, it's for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can't give that advice, because you don't know where they're at with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know where the pain's coming from,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I can't
But when
say,
you're mentoring them, I'm talking about when you have a mentorship with someone and they're angry. Because a lot of people are angry. I was angry at God for a while because what I experienced and what I went through and what my past path was, because mine also was a volatile past as well.
yeah,
A portion of my story as well. So I identify with that angry part of you, that demon that comes out, and it is beyond anger, it's rage.
rage, yeah,
And then you just want to go and tear somebody off to release yourself from being angry, because again, hurt people really do hurt people.
yeah,
You and I both know that. And so, being that I also was angry at the time, um, I know what that feels like and look like, and I know what I would say to a young lady having a relationship with them. Being, if you were mentoring someone and you had a relationship with them and you knew kind of where they were at, what would your advice be to that young person that needs to hear something now, possibly?
okay. So what I do is, the best advice I can give somebody without giving advice, because
Okay.
especially with God, right? It's like,
Mhm.
I know how sensitive that is.
Mhm.
So what I do is I share my story,
Okay.
right? So I'll say how I struggled.
Yeah.
I cussed them out.
Yeah.
I did everything you could think of.
Yeah.
If I could have at that time, I probably would have tried to spit on them,
Yeah.
right? So I get where their anger is coming from.
Mhm.
But I'm a strong believer that stuff has to happen for a reason. I
Yes.
had to receive 3 life sentences
Yeah.
to give up all hope of just like, I'm going to die in prison,
Yeah.
before I really had because if I'd have did 20 years, I would have still been a gang member.
Yeah.
I'm just pumping, you got to let me out. I ain't tripping.
Wow. Yeah.
I ain't tripping. 20 years straight, I know I'm going home.
Yeah.
Still would have been no change up here,
Wow.
right? So I had to hit rock bottom almost
Yeah.
to be like, okay, what are you going to do with yourself, even if
Yeah.
it's in this environment?
Mhm.
And so, and I'm glad that I went through all that stuff,
Yeah.
because I would not be the man I am today, right?
It was
I
necessary.
had to go through it,
It was necessary.
to have access to that education,
Yeah.
to have access to that self-evolving,
Mhm.
to have the time to breathe
Mhm.
without the stress out here of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I had to, because I was so damaged. I think he was like, okay, and to see where my pain too is like, my first term when I went to prison, it was a attempted murder on a cop case, right?
Mhm.
They said we shot at the police,
Mhm.
and it was a situation where we threw the gun out the window, a shotgun, and it went off.
Okay.
When I seen him, we threw it out the window and I took off.
Yeah.
And it went off, and they went on the big old rant about we tried to shoot at the police,
Mhm.
and had to go to trial on that one too, and
Yeah.
prove that no, there was no
Yeah.
shotgun blast in the car,
Yeah.
the fence, or the apartment complex
Yeah.
behind the car. So, they were just thinking like that gang member stuff
Mhm.
was gonna override all that other
Yeah.
stuff. And I say that because I was asking God, like, come on,
Mhm.
get me out of this, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at, again, almost the same years I was looking at now,
Yeah.
right? At least 25 to life, right?
Mhm.
And so we beat everything,
Mhm.
right? Because the cops try to conjure up some story and get
Mhm.
this rookie to say it.
Mhm.
And then when she got on the stand, she started stuttering, and, so we ended up beating that.
Mhm.
So
His
I
kindness
think he
towards
got
you.
me out, right?
His kindness towards you.
So I'm like, I did ask God, like, get me out of this.
Right. Right.
And then, so we do. right? I go do my time, you know.
And you still don't
I
behave.
get out, and so pretty much the way I look at it is like I spit in his face because I didn't change, I didn't
Yeah.
learn nothing, right? And within 8 months, I was full blown doing the same
Back
toxic
into
lifestyle,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
Forgot about prison, don't even care
Yeah.
no more, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, okay. So I think he sat me down with 3 more times. I said, no, this time this was gonna stick.
Yeah.
He didn't
Yeah.
want to learn from
Yeah.
the slap on the
Yeah.
cheek. Now I'm
Yeah.
gonna slap you on the butt, right?
Yeah. And can you see his hand in that? That he then had to isolate you.
No.
Even
Yeah.
in that environment, he had to give you time to breathe and isolate you
Yes.
from all of the stuff that you were going through, all of the shots you were calling, all of the environments you were in. Then also put your daughter in the mix
At the right
to
time.
say, hey, because it's about timing.
Yeah.
God is so smooth with
Yeah.
his time.
No.
That
Everything
he know
happened
what
for
to
a
do.
reason. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you had to then have that question in that time to then self-evaluate, then hear about these groups. This one didn't work, and then it was the other one that also
That-
played on what you were building yourself and your brand. Your brand is you,
Yep.
building yourself and your pride on, and then say, okay, well, I see you still not changing. I know what to do for you. Then he plucked you from there and put you over there. His hand was still in it.
Yeah, and think about it. In all the places I've been, like I've been to prisons where there's not like a lot of Northerners, like, and we're at war. Like Pelican Bay, you know, first kite I get from the homies is like, hey, we're at war with the Southsiders right now. As soon as the doors open, you got enemies right here in this cell, on your right side, and you give me a whole count of
Yeah.
where to look for these guys when
Yeah.
the doors crack, right? And I'm ready. I'm used to that environment,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, these yards are where people die.
Yeah.
But my mentality is I'm going to come out there. There's 13 Northerners in this whole prison
Yeah.
on the line, and I'm going to come out there and take on 250.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
but that's the mentality. Like,
Right.
And so
A
me,
warped mind.
right. And so I would say that he had a hand too. Like, you know, I shouldn't have probably survived a lot of that stuff.
You shouldn't have.
Even-
You should
even
be
my
dead
first
9,000 times.
even
As
my
old
first
as you are, 9,000. So now every year you should already been dead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So even
That
my
he's
first term-
protected you the
Yeah.
whole time.
Even my first term, I went to a bulldog yard, which is ex-Northerners from Fresno, right? And so, and because it was that cop case, they kept popping my door. So
Oh,
me and my
shut
Sally
up.
would have to go out there and get off. And you're not supposed to get your door popped in orientation. That was their yard. So we kept doing that. I did that for almost 2 years, in and out.
Wow.
Every time we come back, and I told my Sally, you might want to find another Sally because they're going to keep popping this door. And he's like,
Yeah.
nah, let's keep going. Like,
Yeah.
he was just as crazy as me. So he was like, nah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so he was working out his pain too.
Yeah.
And we're just blessed because there was like 200 plus bulldogs on that yard, and we're their enemy.
Wow.
So every time that door cracked, they could have just all rushed us and really did some damage, but we just kept doing it. They knew we were going to come out. They knew they were going to pop the doors,
Wow.
and we're going to come out there and fight. And
It is so crazy the way he encaps angels around you, even when we don't deserve it.
yeah,
Just because he knew that you really did have a heart to love on people, even in the midst of your hurt, even in the midst of your pain, even what you've gone through, that he would be able to create in you a clean heart and renew the right spirit to help that young man who didn't have a father, who had a single mom, who had some issues, who themselves may have been raped and molested, and they have been beaten by a stepfather, had issues going on in their lives, mad at God, angry, not having shoes, having hand-me-down
Hungry,
clothes,
right.
hungry, you know what I'm saying, have to be in gang, environments, having lack in every area that they can have lack in, that you can even think of. And he said, I have somebody, my God, that I'm getting ready to clean up to do something for me. Because you go out into these mentorships, in these group homes, in these environments with young people, and you tell them, don't be like me. Here's my story.
I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
You could keep following, and we're never gonna be able to tell anybody what to do, right? So
You're giving
what
them
I do
advice, though.
is I show them by example.
Yeah.
And you're gonna still follow these footsteps. Probably some of you are gonna keep going and be like, "Ah, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about, right?"
Yeah.
But I welcome that. You still heard my story,
Yeah.
and you're still gonna see the steps. So when that next step happens, and you're saying, "Oh, this is what that guy was talking about,"
Right.
and then the next step happens, you're like, "Oh, That's two of them.
Right.
Then maybe I'm opening your eyes to be like,
Yeah.
okay, something's got to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I need help.
Yeah. Do you think it would have made a difference for you if there was someone like you in your life?
At that time, I think I was so
12, 13,
yeah,
14.
I was. My mind was so toxic at that time.
Already?
Yes.
At 12 and 13?
Yes.
Before you even became into the
I had a
game?
lot of rage at 9.
Okay.
You know, I was like, think about a 9-year-old kid fighting another 9-year-old kid, and they're not ready for that rage,
Oh,
or
I
not
understand.
even knowing that they're in a fight like that.
I understand.
They thought they were just saying something, and I
Yeah.
took it,
Yeah.
and it's on.
Yeah. I understand most definitely.
Yeah, so it's like my rage was extreme because of the trauma and almost the self-hatred.
Yeah.
Like I was so mad at myself too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Because then too, you couldn't even protect the one you really loved.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And then I thought like, oh, everybody don't love me, like because of what happened.
wow.
They're mad at me, and I'm like,
That's crazy. And that's like the trick of the enemy. Always telling you lies about how you're not loved, how you're not wanted, how you're judged already. Everybody already see the bad in you, so you might as well go ahead
keep
and do
going.
it.
That's what you're gonna see me as. I'm gonna be it.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
So then you had that mind explosion, being incarcerated still. So what year was this? Like how many years have you been in there by that
So
time?
that was about 2015, I would say.
So you've been in there about
So
what, 13 years by that time?
Yeah.
And so
Well, I've been locked up 14 at that time. 'Cause
At
it was
14?
in 2001 I got locked up for it.
oh, okay,
But
okay.
yeah, I've been in prison from after trial and everything. I went to prison in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you technically been locked up for 14 years
Yeah,
now.
at that time.
So then you had some more years and some more growing to do.
Oh yeah.
So then what happened?
So-
After you realized that, then what?
So I realized it, and I felt like, oh, that was a passion. Like I want as much. I'm the type of person that goes hard, right? I like
Extremeness.
and education. Like when I find something, like even the negative stuff, like I went hard on that. Like I learned everything I could about gang policies, right?
Right.
And so, so when I latch onto something, I'm very, aggressive with it. So when I got into groups, I started saying, okay, I need to sign up for every group I can. It doesn't matter who's teaching it. I'm absorbing the words
Yeah.
on how I'm going to interpret it, right? And so I started going to groups 5 days a week.
Wow.
I signed up for everything.
Wow.
And they got to the point where I can internalize it and articulate it a little bit, to where I was barely like doing groups like 6 months, and one of the guys was leaving, and he's like, "Can you come facilitate this group when I'm gone?" And I'm like, "Oh, like you're tripping," you know what I mean? I'll talk from the audience all day, right? But he was like, "Dude, there's nobody else who, like, you get it."
Yeah.
And it was Victims Impact. So
Oh,
I felt like since it changed my life, that I was like, okay, well then you're gonna have to speak on this whole group. And so at first I was like shaky, and and it was a lot of self-doubt because I felt like I didn't want to give the wrong answer,
Yeah.
right? I barely started started doing group 6 months ago, and you want me to, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
come up here and lead it. It's like, okay, so I started reading it, and it just got easier after a while. I had I had examples. It's not answers, right? It's examples
Yeah.
on how I interpreted it or how I felt, or a lot of it is opening these young people up to feelings
Yeah.
and properly labeling them,
Yeah.
because sometimes we generalize them all as, jealousy, just simple emotions that come, that we always go to anger. Anger is our core weapon that we use, right? So it's about properly saying, okay, I could be irritated and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
I don't have to beat nobody up.
Yeah.
I'm just irritated. It's
Yeah.
over with.
Yeah.
And so being able to teach somebody that is like emotional maturity, right? Teaching them that stuff.
And so I believe that everything is a spirit. Did you feel when you became angry that spirit of rage came over you? Did you know it?
Oh, it was almost comforting to me.
Really?
Yes, it was like out of body experience sometimes,
Okay.
and sometimes I would black out.
Yeah, most definitely.
So
I do understand that because I've been there before.
I remember waking up one day and I had like white corduroys on, and I had blood all over me. I'm like searching myself, like, am I bleeding? Like, what happened? I don't remember nothing.
Yeah.
And the homies would have to tell me what happened the next day.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't
So
remember none of that.
now that you've been in there for 14 years and now you're leading the groups, so at this point in time, like fast forward to you getting ready to get out, what happened?
So you want like when I found out that I was getting out?
No, like
Oh.
what was the process of
Oh,
starting
so
to get ready to get out?
so I keep myself busy. Laws are changing every year, so I'm still
Okay.
doing the legal stuff.
Okay.
You know, anything popped up with my situation
Mhm.
or guns or anything,
Mhm.
I'm filing.
Okay.
Right. So,
So
but
you were still putting in appeals.
yeah, I went to another
Okay.
prison after that and started facilitating over there.
Yeah. Wow.
I got into a dog program training dogs for basic
Oh wow.
obedience and
Okay.
service. Yeah,
Yeah.
became the lead in there.
Mhm.
And then I started facilitating the junior mentor. It's a youth maturity group inside prison. So
Okay.
25 and under, everybody had to go to that prison,
Okay.
and it teaches you some psychology, like
Yeah.
brain development, and it's Eric Erickson's stages of change,
Okay.
right, and development, and yeah, and we break it down, and
Mhm.
everybody shares how that breakdown is in a chunk of their life at that time.
Yeah.
You know?
Had anybody come back to you and say, "I appreciate you
Oh.
for what you did"?
No, when I went back to the prison, I felt like a rock star.
Really?
Because a lot of them young people think that sometimes we're facilitating to manipulate the system, to chase chronos for board, or to just look good, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's hard for them to receive that information.
Okay.
But what was different with me is I'm not going to board. I was gonna die in prison. So
Yeah.
I used to tell people like I'm here because I want to help.
Yeah.
You can't say I'm chasing chronos because I'm not
Yeah.
even going to board until I'm
Yeah.
103.
Yeah.
And then so, finally the laws changed, and all these guys are seeing me go home, about to go home, and they're like, "Dang, they're happy for me, and I feel
Yeah.
good, right?"
Mhm.
But the thing is, I always hear that self doubt in their heads, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, he wasn't real or nothing."
Mhm.
So when I went back and to go volunteer to go facilitate again, they were like, "Okay, you're still doing it, like you're
Yeah.
a real one." Like,
Yeah.
so, and it's about giving them hope to like listen to the next man.
Mhm.
You might hear something from somebody else. Like, don't always think that's negative.
Yeah.
Receive it,
Yeah.
hear it, like,
Yeah.
try to work it into your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, I try to keep it real because so many people get out. Like I said, that was something I wasn't going to do. I
Mhm.
forgot about prison last time, and
Mhm.
I came right back.
Right.
So this time it's like, I'm a man of my word. I'm going to go back. I'm going to help facilitate.
Yes.
I'm doing, and it's not hard. It's, time management.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's like, just certain days are, first Saturday of the month, I go mentor youth.
Yeah.
Third Saturday of the month, I go into the prisons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And so when you fast forward to ready to get out, you were still petitioning, still appealing,
Yeah.
still keeping up on the laws. Then the law changed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What year was that?
So that changed in 2019.
Okay.
But because of my extensive record,
Okay.
they were fighting it extremely hard. And I think it was mostly because of the attempted murder on the cop thing that we beat, but because it's on my rap sheet,
Yeah.
they find that, something they want to fight for.
Yeah.
Right? So it took a couple of extra years of me petitioning, like, no, I
Yeah.
deserve this.
Yeah.
And I seen people just get out like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say majority of them was Caucasians, but yeah.
Yeah.
They were just getting out like the law
Yeah.
changed and you're gone. I'm like, all right, I'm next. Yeah. Nope, not for me, right?
Yeah.
But I get it. If you read me on paper, it's extremely bad.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
bad. I got
Yeah.
a lot of gun charges. I got assaults on police officers.
Mhm.
And so I get it. I kind of get it, but I didn't like it, right?
Mhm.
So, and at the same time, like I've been blessed to know the law
Mm-hmm.
and not just give up.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna keep pushing. And
Yeah.
it took me almost a couple more years. Like I was supposed to
Okay.
get out in 2019,
And so when
Took
did you get out?
2022.
22?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's been, is it
So
two
it's,
more years?
so-
2 years about?
October. That's when I got out. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So it's 7. What?
So it's
19
almost
months.
2 years.
19 months.
Yeah, in October.
Yep.
Wow. And so you are now working, obviously, because you're my
Yes.
coworker,
Yep.
and you've been there like a year.
I got there in January, so yeah, about 16 months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so funny that you still do breakdowns.
Yeah,
everything in
I'm
months.
like, what do you want? What do you want?
And so when you were realizing you were getting ready to get out in 2022,
Mhm.
how did you feel?
So I was in shock, right?
Yeah.
Because I almost gave up on it because my attorney was like, the DA does not want to, give you a deal or nothing. Like, she won't let me out. I'm like, dude, I was fighting with him literally because I knew the law.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to let him slack.
Yeah.
So literally, I'm arguing with him on the phone, like,
Yeah.
dude, you have to file this petition. You
Yeah.
have to word this one. Yeah. Oh, I don't think it's effective. I don't care if you think it's effective. I want it in there,
Yeah.
and it's for appeal purposes because the Supreme Court watches the judges over here to make sure they're in line.
Yeah.
They do a lot of BS that they try to push through, and
Mhm.
hopefully they don't get to change over, right?
Mhm.
So I know I have to get that in there so I
Yeah.
can bring it up later, even
Yeah.
if this guy's not going to entertain it, this
Yeah.
judge. And so, arguing. When I'm arguing these things, I think he's over there talking to the DA. And so, I almost gave up. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to prepare for the next stage. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to get bored because they changed the law that said if you did 20 years, you'll have an opportunity to go to board at a certain age. I was like, okay, cool. I'll get that one then. I'll just
Yeah.
start preparing. I'm ready for that. I've been
Yeah.
doing groups, everything, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then he he texts me because we have the tablets in there now. And he's like, hey, they're offering 19 years. I'm like, I told you to take anything 31 and under. Like, I got the time served for all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? I would go home anyways.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, man. So now I'm in shock. And so he calls the DA, calls me back, or texts me back, and I call him. And then he's like, yeah, they want to take 19 years. We'll go. On Friday, you're going to go get resentenced, and the following Friday, you'll be released.
Wow.
You
What the
still
heck?
don't believe it until
Yeah.
I get out. But it's like, because we've been told, like, you're not free until you
Hit the streets.
hit the streets.
Right.
Because anything could happen in R&R,
In between,
and
right.
you're obligated at that time as a gang member to get off. So
Yeah.
you might go to R&R to go home and then come right back.
But wasn't your mind changed by then? Like, I
It
can't
is,
get-
but
can't
that
get
I
off.
told you that characteristic still is in there, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
that self-doubt that's always going to be there. I might not react to it, but it's there that I'm not out until I'm out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just because I couldn't believe it.
Did you tell your girl, your wife?
I told everybody, yeah. Well, I try to. I try to surprise. I wanted to surprise my daughter and the family,
Okay.
right? So eventually, originally she was gonna try to come pick me up so I could surprise my daughter, but she wanted to tell my daughter. She was like trying to take the fame, right?
Right.
So she
Steal
couldn't
your
wait. She said, "I
thunder.
told her," and I'm like, "What the heck?" I was trying to
Right.
surprise her. But she told her because she had to work and do some kind of training on that.
Yeah.
One day she couldn't take the day off. She had to do training. She was so mad. But my mom and my daughter ended up coming to pick me up. So
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
and so they
That
were
is
outside
so
the gates,
awesome.
and I was like,
Did
And
you
it was-
cry?
I did not. Surprisingly, I did not
didn't?
cry. No, I think I
Wow.
was crying out. But but yeah, it's just so weird being outside those walls and seeing grass and trees. And then we went to a store to go shopping for clothes, and I felt overwhelmed. I was out of place. I didn't know.
I was just getting ready to say, how did you process
I was
that?
almost panicking, right? And there's no threats in there. It was a
Right.
panic more of not knowing my place in society. Like,
Okay.
because I done tatted myself up, and now I feel like I look like a freak compared, everybody out here. And there it's normal. Everybody got tattoos
Yeah.
everywhere, right? But yeah, so I was like, we picked one outfit, and I said, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And it was just overwhelming. It was surprisingly overwhelming, out of place feeling.
How long did it take for you to not feel out of place? And do you still feel out of place at times?
There's still some things, but I have a lot of tools in my arsenal, in my brain that
Okay.
I can diffuse almost any situation now,
Yes.
because I know how scared I am of the person I used to be.
Yeah.
So I always have to remember, like, I'm never gonna want to be that person.
Yes.
So I have a lot of tools that try to talk my brain down quick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's like thinking of things my kids did when they were little.
Yeah.
Or pictures they took or sent me, and it's like that makes me laugh, makes me happy, and it calms my brain down so I
Yeah.
could think.
It's so crazy though to understand how God can create in us something so different than people don't realize that, because who you are today, you would not even think that was your story or your journey. So when you and I kind of sit and break bread about stories, journeys past, there was just like wow. But I understood and identified that because I too was a volatile monster. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I know that God can really change and do a thing. And like to see you now, like we're always like, joking and talking and things like that. Like we have really deep conversations. We kid around a lot. Just even the way you handle people, the way you deal with them in patience. Because some of the people where our job is could be where
Challenging,
you,
right?
yeah, you can run out real quick.
Yeah.
But I've never seen you lose your cool.
No, I won't.
Um,
I
you're
won't no more.
always
Yeah.
smiling. You're always upbeat. Um, there's always an uplifting spirit about you. Um, it's like you about business, but you believe in, like, we could still be able to sit and laugh and smile at the
Yeah.
same time
Make.
and be about your business. You are most definitely like me in extremeness. It's like white or black, there is no gray.
Yeah.
It's in, and if I lock into something, I lock into it hard, which also means that you love hard, you
Mhm.
know. And so that was the thing. Really, love set you free.
Yes.
Do you understand, like, how big that is? For the
Pure
love
love,
of
like
your
a
daughter,
child. Yeah, a child's
the
love.
love of your daughter set you free.
And that's why that's my main weapon in groups and stuff. If they have
Mhm.
kids, like I know how to get to you.
Yeah.
Like you want to value, you're gonna miss out on so much of that kid's life
Mhm.
if you don't watch what you're doing now.
Yeah. And then it was the love of God and his compassion towards you.
Well, he saved my butt. He kept me safe.
Man, that is so crazy.
Kept me safe in one of the most violent places in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what do you feel about, like, when we started connecting? What did you automatically think? Because we didn't know each other at first.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you pretty much opened up. I think from your past. I think because I brought up the mentoring the youth,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm always trying to find like the women to go speak because we have
Right.
girls there, right? So
Right,
it's like,
sure.
and like I expressed to you is like, we could empathize with them to a degree
Mm-hmm.
as a father,
Yeah.
right? But we don't know what they're going through
Yeah.
exactly. So sometimes it's like, so when you shared when I said that and you shared your story about your past, that's I think the connection is like you're open to speak about your pain.
Yeah.
Then you're somebody I understand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I know that other people can heal through our stories, right?
Mhm,
And so that's where we started. Like I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the type of person I like to interact with because they're like they understand where they come from.
Mm-hmm. Do I seem like to where I'm so overwhelming with God that you can't talk to me?
No, because you're not. You're
Yeah.
you're not very overwhelming. I know you're a religious woman, and like I said, it's not me to judge,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just know that it's not an effective tool the way I present it
Sure.
to kids or sometimes
Mhm.
people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people are very sensitive, and it's
Yeah.
like, and I get it. You're passionate about your religions,
Mm-hmm. About God, not a religion.
yeah, about God.
Uh-huh.
and but for me, it's like I'm always keeping that in my mind that I can't push it because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been receptive to it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to always try to help the next kid or
Mhm.
person
Yeah.
the best I can. So
Yeah.
I'm trying not to trigger that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't. I like it, right? I
Yeah.
like that people are faithful because it means
Mhm.
they're on a positive path
Yeah.
and that they're trying to help others
Mhm.
ultimately.
There was a time that I was pouring and ministering to someone, and I didn't even know that you heard me because you were in another room that I couldn't see.
Mm.
And you came to me and you said, "Man, I really enjoyed that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Rock, I didn't even know your big head self."
I mean, I'd be creeping around. I gotta keep an eye on you. Well, I know it was another thing at work, and you're still doing HR work.
Yeah.
And it's like a majority of that I think is de-escalating people's. Everybody has issues, and I get it that it's important to you.
Yeah.
But there's ways to handle it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
and
sure.
you being individual being angry and frustrated with the situation is not going to help.
Yeah.
So you talking a person down and helping them see maybe it from a different view, it
Mhm.
calms them down to be able to proceed.
Yeah.
So I like the way that you handled that tactfully
Mhm.
because I seen him come in from the gate
Yeah.
and he was fired up.
Right.
And I
Right.
was like, okay, you were like, slow down.
Right.
So I was like, okay, you did that pretty quick. I like that
Yeah.
de-escalation, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, because work is work, but we shouldn't be able to stress about work.
Right. Right. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to put out there on the table?
No, I would just encourage people to like try to look out for the laws changing. Right, I do see them changing in favor of people that have changed.
Okay.
There's a large community in prison now that are accepting this change
Okay.
and really applying. And most of the people that I keep in contact with out here are productive, right?
Yeah.
So be open to changing the laws because you don't know what family member might need that law.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all about accountability. I told you.
Right. You are.
I tell
You're
people
huge
I
on
tell
that.
people about ride your beef all the time, and that's even if you're in the criminal lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I tell these kids too that are gangbanging that I mentor, understand the consequences to
Right.
your actions, right?
Right.
Own up to it.
Right.
If you're gonna choose that path and you're gonna have to learn on your own curve, then understand that there's consequences and be safe, right? But you know the abuse of the legal system has been so bad that
Horrible.
yeah people and a lot of people ain't like me, they can't
Mhm.
absorb the law.
Yeah.
You know, you do get confused on how what you're taking even sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like dude, um so everybody's just sitting in there. A lot of people gave up
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing how to pursue that law.
Yeah.
So it's like just at least vote for the positive
Yeah.
changes in law.
And what I can say is, really do try to incorporate God into your situation. Because when man says no, God says yes. Man had written you off. Society had written
Yeah.
you off. Even family, even though they haven't monetarily written you off, but they couldn't come see you. They couldn't hug you.
Yeah,
They
they
couldn't
accepted
hold
that, yeah.
you. So they had to write it off because I have to accept that I may never see my son and hold him in a natural setting anymore outside of these prison walls. I can come and visit him once he get his crazy stuff out the chute, but I can't go to dinner with you. I
Yeah.
can't say, hey, let's go to Morton Steakhouse. I can't, excuse me, do these things with you. And so when God says yes, man says no. When man says no, God says yes. And so sometimes it's changing our mindset and our frame and asking for that accountability and show me and teach me and guide me another path, another way, a decision. Because it's really about a decision and a choice. Would you agree?
Well, of course, yeah. Your choices you make,
Everything you
right?
do.
Everything, and I say that because I was so full of rage and anger that even if I had a good choice and a bad choice, I'm gonna take the bad one because it's comfortable.
Yeah. It's familiar
Yeah,
to you.
this
It makes
feels
you
weird.
what feels
Yeah, and this
feels
could be
good to me.
beneficial to me,
Most
but
definitely.
guess what? I'm good.
Yeah, and I'm used to this bad
Yeah,
way.
this is me. This
Because
is what I
then I
deserve
know,
almost, right?
not only that, but I know the consequences and I know what's going to happen. This good way is
I
the,
don't know
the
unfamiliar.
unfamiliar,
Perfect.
unknown. Yeah, that is most definitely true.
Well, I do kind of share that story that you know, I interact, but I also feel for the person that I'm talking to.
Hmm.
Like if they're receptive to God a little bit, then
Yeah.
I'll share the whole story about my
Yeah.
struggle with Him
Right.
to the point where I had to get this and understand, accepting that I had to get this time
Right.
to even open my mind to change.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But yeah, no, I will when it's I feel they're receptive.
Hmm. Because you move in wisdom with mentoring and knowing how and knowing the behaviors and knowing the spirits that you deal with. And so what you do is effective for you because that's who you are and that's what you experience and that's where you can meet them at.
Right.
And my side is different, even though we both come from very volatile backgrounds, hardship, struggling with a lot of things as childhood traumas.
Excuse me.
And they both ended up in volatile situations. Mine's was a little bit different because I didn't need to be able, and it wasn't necessary to me to do 3 consecutive life sentences.
Yeah.
I just needed to do a little bit of jail time, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good. I'm gonna
My
tap
baby
out.
mama was the same
Yeah.
day. She was like, I don't know how you do it.
I'm
Like,
going to tap out. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But God knows
Mm-hmm.
for every situation that he has an answer for us all. And when he really has something for us to do, he's going to get your attention and be able to sit you down and isolate you and take you from the environment that you're in to give you the environment that he needs you to be in. And so that's pretty cool and dope, because I don't ever tell anybody how to tell their story or what to do with their journey because it was a different one than mine. And you're going to reach different people than I am.
Right.
And so how I finesse my thing and pour my thing, you ain't going to pour from the same cup in the same way that I am.
Yeah.
Because you're going to reach somebody I'm not going to be able to. And
Different
I'm going to be
avenue
able
or
to
something. Yeah.
reach somebody that you will not be able to.
100%.
But I just love your positivity. I love the times that we talk about God, the times that we laugh and we joke and we talk about childhood things and generational curses that we've even been involved in or even seen. talking about kids, grown kids. We talk about that a lot of times. We talk about some of everything. And I really appreciate that. Even coming home sometime and be like, Rocco crazy self, we was talking about such and such that with the hubby and I, and
Right,
he's
right.
sitting in the room right now with us,
Yeah, yeah.
he is always here. There's usually a room full of people when I do this podcast,
Mm.
but since we're doing it on a different day to release for Sunday, it is just us,
Yeah.
and um, just your story, the way that I saw God in it,
Yeah.
the way that I saw protection in it, the way I really saw love. To me, it was like, man, love really busts you out.
It will. It
It
gives you strength. Yeah.
make you free. It doesn't set you free. It makes you free.
Yeah.
And it made you free in your mind, your heart, your
And
body, and your
that's the
spirit.
battle.
Yeah.
Once you accept that in your mind, and your mind can really find that strength.
Excuse me.
That's that inner peace.
Yeah.
I feel like I truly have inner peace.
Do you?
Yeah, and I feel like things will come to me where I'm needed. Things will come to me,
Yeah.
and I have to be receptive and understand. Like a lot of the times in my past, we talk about this in group all the time. Is like we had chances.
Yeah.
We had these signs. We had these avenues to escape or get out of it. We never looked to it. We
Yeah.
never took it because it was comfortable doing the negative, right?
Mhm.
But I say that to where I didn't listen before,
Mhm.
and I didn't, and I look back and it's like, oh, I had this chance,
Yeah.
this chance, right?
Yeah.
But now I have to be super like hyper vigilant on what's given to me.
Mhm.
What do I need to do with this, or who's coming in my view now? Like I'm always trying to I have a purpose,
Mhm.
and so I'm not gonna miss that opportunity this
Yeah.
time.
Did you just even just put that word on her? Super hyper vigilant.
Hyper-vigilant.
Come on now.
My bad, my
Come
bad.
on now. I'm excited about that vocabulary expanding, but you're a very intelligent man. That's
Thank
one
you.
thing that I love about you is that you're a very intelligent man. Before I let you go, question that I have that is residing in my shondo, because I always talk about my shondo, that when you first applied for the job to come to work where we're at, what was that process like?
So it was nerve wracking. However, the person that got me hired, well, I was also in prison with.
Okay.
So a lot of the times as prisoners, we feel like, or ex-prisoners, we feel like, oh, they're not going to hire us. We have that self-doubt. Like
Yeah.
we're judged, right? Because we've been judged our whole lives,
Yeah.
right? So it was just easy knowing that there's people that weren't judged at that
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
Like this is a place I can honestly get a shot. And I felt super welcome because originally I was supposed to take another job, and that job was full. But they
Yeah.
were like, we always have openings and we want to hire you,
Yeah.
but we only have this spot in sanitation.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take any job. Like,
Yeah.
let me get working. Right? And so, and then when the other job opened up, he was like, hey, you ready to come back? I'm like, well, I kind of like this one. This
Yeah.
one was thrown at my feet. And,
Right.
I kind of like this, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. So anything I do, I'm driven. So
100%
I'm
all
glad
in.
that I was driven enough to where people recognize that I deserve the promotion to become
Yeah.
a lead, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, now I'm always going to keep challenging myself to
Yeah.
learn and better
Yeah.
myself.
Were you nervous when you first got there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's uncertainty. Never worked in a warehouse before. I did electrical work prior. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I did it for about 8 years,
Mhm.
and that's mostly on construction sites, right? So you're not around a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could be around a bunch of killers and thugs
Yeah.
on a yard, right?
Yeah.
But that was out of my element. So,
Yeah.
and it was only like a little bit of fear of the unknown because I don't doubt myself on what I could do. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm never gonna limit myself, so I could
Yeah.
do anything almost. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
I
was
wasn't
it that
nervous.
a lot of people were receptive to you to where you were like, okay, I could do this. I'm
Well,
cool.
I went back into the freezer area first, and me and Rashid, came from a little bit of the same background, so we chopped it up. And,
Yeah.
he gave me a rundown. He was there for like about a year, and I liked it because I wasn't around the mix. I was
Yeah.
way at the back of the.
Yeah.
At first you think about the line like, oh, corporate's up here,
Yeah.
and the red vest, and you think there's a higher anarchy, and now it's like, oh no. But I think I needed that to adjust to the job.
Okay.
And when I adjusted to the job, I'm like, okay, now the job's easy. Like
Right.
once
right.
I learn it, it's like, oh,
Right.
it's nothing.
And everybody super adore you,
Thank you.
because you're pretty dope. And You know, even though there's a lot of stuff that goes on within it, it's like you stay away from all of that, you
Yeah.
know, because of the tools that you have.
Well, the drama. Like if they're gonna come for me for advice on maybe
Mm.
how I could de-escalate
Yeah.
a situation, then I'm gonna give them my input, right? But I don't bite into it, and I try not to fuel it. Like
Yeah.
that's the main thing.
Yeah.
When there's too many people trying to fuel it, it's like you're not accomplishing nothing.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You're not even really helping that person
Yeah.
by pumping them up. Like he's not gonna help us out.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
So, do you have any questions for me?
No. How long have you been doing this podcast?
We've been doing it about 10 months or so.
10 months. Okay.
Yeah, about 10 months. Why you ask that, Rob?
I'm just wondering. Pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen one of your other interviews, and it was pretty good.
I'm
Yeah.
about to punch him.
Nah, Oprah. No, Oprah. We're gonna get yours.
Okay, so that was this episode for So Sweet Sundays. I'm Sweets,
I'm Rocky.
and we're out.
Out.
Let me go get you the world, baby. I'll be right back. Get your diamonds and them pearls, baby. I'll be right back. Put triple digits.